All right, guys, so we've talked a lot about the recruiting process, obviously, and how to get to a school, but I thought I would talk about, okay, how do you impress your coaches? How do you get to be one of those guys that the coaches are rooting for to get into the lineup? Now, this is going to be more about when you're at college, but this also will apply if you're in high school. Because, again, a lot of this stuff you're doing at the baseball field. So whether you're in high school or you're in college or you're getting ready to go to college, this is the way you become one of the players that every coach wants to put in the lineup. May not be able to put him in at the beginning of the season, but as soon as an opportunity opens up, that's the guy we're going with. So number one, guys, and these things may be obvious to you, but I think it's a little bit underweighted how much this can impact your chances of getting on the field, right? People think, well, it's all about performance, and sure, but a guy who does these things is going to put himself in a great position as long as his performance is pretty good. So first overall is showing up on time. Now, guys, this should be a no-brainer, but as a guy who coached in college for a few years when I was back at Georgia Tech, there are so many players now that get to the field 5 minutes before a practice. And I know you guys watching this video may think, well, as long as you're on the field before practice starts, sure. But what a coach is seeing is you don't want to get to the field early and get some early work in. There's nothing you want to get to the field and do and try to improve at. And you're basically giving yourself no window for if something goes wrong and you can't get there because the bus doesn't show up or whatever, you're late. And especially this is true for games. I've seen guys show up 5 minutes before games. Guys, the earlier you show up, if you're consistent with that, one, a coach knows you're dedicated to this. Number two, that's usually pretty well correlated with guys that end up getting into the lineup. The guys that show up last second, usually those are the guys that don't really care, they're not really working hard, and so they don't get into the lineup. And the biggest thing about this, guys, is when you show up on time, what that means is you're showing up to the field at least an hour before practice. Okay? Hour before practice or a game. Now, so if practice is at 3:30, get there at 2:30. When I was in school, me and all my guys in my recruiting class, we would have all our classes pretty much finish around 12, just because you knew you had practice. We'd all get done, we'd get lunch, and we would just go to the field. We'd eat lunch there, we'd hang out in the clubhouse, play cards, do whatever, just hang out. We loved it. Looking back, that's the best time of my life, is just going out there, getting to the field early, hanging out with the boys, and then an hour and a half early, maybe go hit in the cage, get some work done on the field. I'll give you a great example of a guy I coached who this translated to him all the way getting into the big leagues. So Justin Henry Malloy, who got to the big leagues with the Tigers, had a great season. He went to Vanderbilt out of high school, didn't get a lot of playing time there. Transferred to Georgia Tech while I was coaching there. Every single day, he would show up to the field 2 hours early. Hey, Renner, can we get some ground balls today? Can you hit me some ground balls? Every single day. Okay? So he ended up being our starting third baseman. He moved around a little bit. Second, third, some other spots. But he knew he wanted to improve every single day. He was out there for early hitting every day and early ground balls every day. So, guys, that impacts what coaches think about you. Now, he ended up performing so well he was going to start, but again, not only was he a starter, but he became a leader on the team because everyone knew he was one of the hardest workers on the team. And now he's, after a few years, he's playing in the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers. So that's an example of just what that can do. Just showing up to the field early allows you to do a lot of other stuff. Number two, and this kind of piggybacks off that, being a hard worker. Now, guys, this isn't just about at the baseball field. This isn't just about in the classroom, even though it is. It's also about in the weight room and your conditioning, okay? When you're, especially in the off season, after fall workouts are over, kind of like they are now, that's when you're going heavy into the weightlifting and you're getting your conditioning in. So whether you got a conditioning kind of test where you and your team have to do a certain amount of conditioning stuff, whether it's laps at a certain time, be a leader in those drills. Don't be the guy that everyone has to hope makes the time every time. Be the guy that's finishing in front and helping other guys finish, and so you don't throw on extra if you miss the time. Getting stuff done in the workout. Again, we've talked about this a lot with our high school guys, but again, that stuff gets reported back to the coaches. Your strength coach in college is going to be like, yeah, this guy, man, he just gets after it. He gets after it. Or he's going to say, this guy, man, he's always just slacking off, not really doing his thing. And that's going to show in the results you get. At the baseball field, like I said, you show up early so you can be the guy that hey, coach, can you come hit me some ground balls? I can promise you your coach is never going to say no. He may say, give me 5 minutes, but he's going to go out there and work with you. Early BP, we're going to go out and throw to you guys, whether it's in the cage or on the field. So being a hard worker also means being a hard worker in the classroom. Now, it doesn't mean you have to get all A's, guys. We've talked about this a little bit, but what you need to get, what you want to be, is a player that a coach is not worried about you becoming academically ineligible. So as long as your grades are consistent, you got around a 3.0, maybe a little bit lower than that, but as long as you're around that 3.0, coaches are not going to be worried about you becoming academically ineligible. So you want to get your work done. You don't need to be a brainiac. Again, shoot for the stars, do as well as you can, but you just don't want to be a bother where a coach is thinking, oh shoot, he messes around in one more class, he may not be eligible for the spring and he can't play. And again, you don't want to be in that situation either. You don't want to be in that situation where you can't play because you didn't get your work done in the classroom. Okay? So that's number 2, just making sure you're being a hard worker, guys. And then 3, and this goes with being a hard worker, being a leader. So how do you be a leader? Okay, that doesn't mean you have to be a vocal leader. You can be a freshman and be a leader on the team. What you do is you go as hard as you can in all the drills. All right, you set the pace, whether you're taking ground balls, whether you're doing defensive work, whatever. You set the pace. You're like I would do in the outfield, run down every ball you can to show the coaches that, well, this guy will catch everything. We know he can play good defense. I mean, that was my number 1 goal as a freshman. I went every day in BP. I went out to center field. I wanted to win the center field job. I ran down every single ball I could, as hard as I could, for hour and a half, 2 hours of BP. Okay, and I think those guys would tell you they knew by about 2 or 3 weeks in, this guy's our best defensive center fielder we have. And so it's not about just being this vocal leader, right? Your upperclassmen are going to be that, unless you're just a freshman. You talk about Drew Burress at Georgia Tech. That's a kid who, as a freshman, when he starts taking off, especially into the season, he can become that leader on the team because his performance, his mentality, he's earned the right. As a freshman, you have to earn the right to be a vocal leader. Most of your upperclassmen will kind of shoot you down if you try to do that too early, because who are you? What have you proven? You got to earn that right as a freshman. But to be a leader in the way you go about your business, you can do that as a freshman. Right? You're not taking reps off. You're going as hard as you can. Base running drills, you're going as hard as you can. Coaches are going to pick up on that. They're going to see that. They're going to respect that. You want to be the guy that's respected. Okay? These things, guys, are kind of common sense. I know. But again, you don't want to be the guy who is dependent totally on his performance. Here's the deal. You may be a guy that's not in the starting lineup. But if you're out there busting it in defensive work every day, when the time comes, they may not think, all right, we want a guy that can be our best offensive option. They may want the guy who he's not going to make any errors on defense. He's going to make all the plays. Another guy coached at Georgia Tech, Jaden Jackson. I mean, he was that same kind of guy as Malloy. Worked his butt off every day on defense. He was a shortstop, second baseman, and he earned the right to get into the lineup at the end of his career and ended up having a good few seasons because he was the hardest worker out there on defense. You knew he was going to make all the plays. You knew he was going to make even some spectacular plays. The bat, you thought, we don't know what we're going to get. He ended up doing a great job offensively as well, but he earned that right because of how great he was defensively and how much he worked on it every day. So you want to be a guy that, maybe a pinch runner. Maybe every day you're doing in drills when you're doing base running and you're doing defense work at the same time, and you just showing a great ability base run. You may be the guy they call on in the 9th inning with the runner on second to go, because this guy, man, he knows how to read the ball off the bat. He knows he gets great jumps. He's not a guy that's going to hesitate for 3 seconds and then get thrown out at home by 2 steps because he just doesn't have the instincts. So there's so many ways to work your way into the lineup. And guys, again, You do that a few times. All of a sudden you become a guy that's trusted, and then all of a sudden you get that spot start, you get a couple hits, and now you're building that trust with the coaching staff. So maybe not that year you're a starter, but that next season you're looked at a guy who's got a little bit of an edge over some of the guys that are coming in. Okay? So it's we really, it's not even about really impressing the coaches. It's about earning their trust. Is this guy dependable? Is he going to make the plays? Is he going to have consistent at-bats? He's not going to throw away at-bats in a big situation. That's what you're looking to do. And again, if you're in high school, the same thing applies. Getting your grades done, working hard in the weight room, doing the stuff on the field where coaches are going to notice you. The same thing really you should be doing in travel ball, guys. Running hard on and off the field. Stuff like that. So I hope this helps, guys. Again, it's not just about becoming a starter as a freshman. Again, that's harder than ever now with all these changes. But building that trust, you do this stuff, you will build the trust with the coaching staff, and all it takes is one game, and you may be in there. So appreciate all the support, guys. Let me know what you think about this. Any questions? Maybe anything you want to add that you guys think would be beneficial for a player to do. Again, this is kind of a general thing. There's definitely more stuff we can do. But I'd love to hear it in the comments. So appreciate it, guys. We'll be back for another video tomorrow.